What's up, guys? Welcome back to another episode here of the BlockHash Podcast, your number one resource for all that is happening across the emerging tech space. Be sure to like, comment, and subscribe wherever you listen to or watch the show. Today, I'm joined by Snir. He is the founder of Nominis. We're going to talk about what Nominis is all about today. We're going to talk also about how they're tackling things like the adversary landscape, AML, detection, and also, what we can expect from them heading into the new year. So, Snir, welcome to the show. It's a pleasure to have you on today. How's it going?
Thank you. Welcome.
Yeah, to get things underway, I think the best way to start would maybe tell us a bit about yourself and maybe a bit about your backstory. What kind of led into this space, and what was maybe initial inspiration for you, and I guess what also kind of eventually led to founding Nominis?
Yeah, so personally, I've started to be interesting about crypto around 2017. In one of the Bitcoin hypes, I believe, and as part of it, I've decided to take a task and study Bitcoin on my own, and then provide some explanation to the people that barely heard about Bitcoin in 2017. What is Bitcoin? How it works? What is proof of work? And how Bitcoin might be involved, or how people might use Bitcoin in their daily on a daily basis. And then I just started, investing during that time. After it still didn't work in the space, and then around 2020 started working in the space for 2 years. Worked as a data scientist, and then around by the end of 2022, I've decided to establish Nominis, which had a different name at the beginning. We're running as Nominis for the last we can say 12, 13 months. Yeah, we saw what's going on in the industry. We saw that data is super interesting stuff, and we try to build something that will make the ecosystem much more transparent, and that will allow adoption of stable coins and coins in general for institutions, banks, big players. And this is how we decided to establish Nominis as a blockchain intelligence company, and to help those entities with everything about AML.
How do you guys go about doing that with Nominis? Do you guys have like your own proprietary tools and strategies, or do you like integrate with other forms of software and startups, or like how do you kind of go about that process?
That's a great question. So we are the new guy in the field. Not that new, but one of the newest, we can say, because all the other legacy vendors are in the market for over 10 years. And they pretty much use the same techniques. Some of them do more, a little bit more off-chain data, a little bit more focus on specific blockchains. And still, we found out that a lot of money goes into illicit actors on the blockchain, and a lot of things are still uncovered by anyone. And this is why we've decided to try another approach, a new approach on how to tackle those threats, and those illicit actors. So when we started building Nominis, we said, okay, there is everybody competing about the data that they have on chain, which is good. We also have great on-chain data. But the unique stuff is not just to have on-chain data, but on top of it, to understand context, to understand what this wallet tried to do, what this transaction, is it a legit one? Is there anything outside of the blockchain that might flag this wallet or transaction as suspicious? For example, someone talked about this wallet on social media or dark web, or even on forums and stuff like that. And so we've built proprietary engines that do both collection of data from on-chain, but also a lot of data from off-chain. Everything from clear web to social media messages that we scrape into, for dark web forums. We have a lot of arms for this big machine that scrape and collect information from different sources. And then every time that you screen a wallet or transaction, our platform collect all the dots together and give you a comprehensive analysis about not just the on-chain, but also the behavior and the context, and something that you might not see on the blockchain, but might appear off-chain.
Interesting. Yeah, there's a lot more that I think needs to be done in the space when it comes to some of the illicit activity and the adversaries that are still out there and the things that they're doing. That's part of one of the things I want to kind of broaden the scope on a little bit with you today and talk about is that adversary landscape in particular, because I know that you guys have published some investigations. One of them in particular revealing a Chinese Telegram group selling date rape drugs for crypto payments, and probably among many other things too. With that stuff in mind, how do you currently define, I think, what the adversary landscape looks like for Web3 wallets and platforms today? And then, what kinds of illicit fund flows, misuse of assets, wallet behaviors are you seeing in particular that even, people that are seasoned, like compliance and infrastructure teams, that are having a hard time with?
Basically everything, like everything that you see on the traditional financing, from money laundering to drugs to human trafficking to terror financing to illicit medicines. Basically everything that happened on real life also happened with blockchain and crypto. My partner tend to say always that there is no crypto crime. Crime happens outside of the crypto space, outside of the blockchain. But blockchain is one way, a small way, by the way. We're talking about less than 1% of illicit activities, but blockchain is one way to finance those illicit actors. And yeah, we've published some different investigations. Our team was able to, as part of our day-to-day tasks, we were able to uncover a lot of scams, a lot of websites that selling rape drugs, like you've mentioned, and other stuff that are getting that allows paying in crypto. Most of them are usually linked to the Far East. This is something that I think that over the last year there were a lot of publications about some big criminal groups that working from the Far East, from Cambodia to China and all those areas. And many of those transactions today, many of those illicit actors are linked to those groups. But of course, in addition to this, one of the things that we're specialized in is to detect and flag transactions that might be linked to terror organization and stuff like this. And we can tell that over the last years, we see this is a little bit concerning, but we see a growing trend of nations that using the blockchain to move funds into illicit actors, into terror regimes, and doing it also in order to bypass sanctions. And the numbers are continue to grow as more and more people goes into crypto, and the entire market is booming. And since that, illicit actors are also, the number of illicit actors and the volume also grow.
Yeah, I think the fact that this stuff still happens today, despite AML laws, shows that AML is not enough. Probably a good starting point, but there's a lot more that has to be done, like what you guys are working on. And I think that brings us to maybe the tools that Nominis has. I'd be curious to know what things you guys are using and deploying to sniff this stuff out, such as like wallet screening, KYT, know your transaction, maybe different forensic tools, intelligence as a service, and then like how can you embed those into a platform or for a developer to put into their software?
Yeah, that's very easy. One of the main features that we've developed is the risk screening API and also the UI, which allows any organization in the world to connect in a few minutes to the API, start sending queries to the API, for example, screen this specific wallet address, and then the response contains a lot of information about the wallet, the source of funds, geointelligence, um, general intelligence about the wallet, the entire exposure, balances, activities, everything that happened on the blockchain, and eventually everything is summarized into one rescore and one context that the user can understand if he should accept those funds or shouldn't. And that's what we do mostly today with exchanges, PSPs, law enforcement agencies. We allow them to get clarity about what's going on the blockchain and to screen transactions and wallets.
How do you tackle cases where maybe it's a bit harder to trace, like where detection becomes a bit more of an issue? Like I know there was a Squid Game IRL case, which is pretty crazy to even think is something that's real. That was using like one-time disposable Bitcoin wallet addresses, and obviously there's many steps in the line in crypto of what you could do, and like even Zcash lately has been really popular with their shielded transactions. Like there's so many different ways to make things like obscure or hard to kind of find a footpath towards like some of these things. I'm curious, like if you guys also have a way, like heuristics or investigative techniques that you employ in like some of these types of cases, so that you can build like a pretty good detection engine.
Absolutely. So one of the things that we have is the clustering engine, which up for today, we were able to cluster over 1 billion addresses. And to put them in a cluster and to give attribution and to understand exactly to which platform or entity they belong. This is one of the first things that we did. And also with those type of investigations or cases that you mentioned, we have our task force, which all day collecting information, doing being proactive and do stuff in order to uncover wallets. Basically, we work globally today to collect a lot of different types of wallets, from illicit actors to exchanges to OTCs. This is what the team is doing, of course, on top of the OSINT and the heuristics and the clustering. And eventually, when you get to the point that you have so much information like we have, things are become easier because you have a lot of anchors over the blockchain. And then every time that you screen a wallet, you see, okay, I have this one, I have this one, I have this one. It means that this is probably this thing. So there is an advantage for the size of the data that you have. So now it becomes, of course, more easy for us to do heuristics and predictions for wallets. And still, every month we need to collect thousands of wallets manually. And on top of this, every day our platform able to automatically collect and attribute over 250,000 wallets.
Wow. Wow. I mean, obviously you would have to be able to do it at that kind of scale, right? Because there's so many of them out there, and you have to siphon through a lot of that information. So that's quite a tall task that you guys take on, but I commend you guys. Speaking of clean wallets too, Web3 adoption is growing like crazy. The Web3 ecosystem is expanding like crazy. Wallet infrastructure becoming much more embedded across consumer apps and games and creator platforms, as well as in TradFi too. Like there's a lot more interlinkage between the two ecosystems. I'm curious maybe how you see some requirements or even regulation or laws or even standards, maybe just across the industry, kind of evolving over the next year or so to maybe kind of clean wallets a bit more, or at least create some guidelines, so that, I don't know, guidelines, rules, standards, whatever it may be, so that, this isn't such a huge problem in the future, given how much integration the Web3 ecosystem is starting to see now.
Yeah, so we see more and more regulation recently, from MiCA to some general regulation and licenses and stuff like that. And yeah, more countries become more active in providing licenses to companies in their country to allow organizations to adopt crypto. I still think that it's not enough. I mean, we see mainly in Europe a big adoption, and of course in Asia, there are still some countries that left behind. By the way, in low income countries, as an example, more and more people tend to use cryptocurrencies because they don't have bank accounts. This is amazing. Actually, this is a great use case. You can see people that don't have a bank account, but they have a phone and they have a wallet on the phone, and they use it in order to pay in stores and to do stuff. That's a great use case. And we see it developing more and more into Western countries that keep adopting blockchain. We see today stores that accepting cryptocurrencies. You see everything, from merchants to closes to everything. Like everyone starts to adopting cryptocurrencies. In my opinion, in the future, we'll see more adoption of stable coins. Eventually, I think there will be like the traditional cryptocurrency started with Bitcoin. But in a few years, I think a success story will be if stable coins will eventually pass the market cap of Bitcoin. In this case, it means that we have really an adoption of cryptocurrencies. Some people will argue that stablecoins are not really cryptocurrencies, or it's some part of. But eventually, real adoption of cryptocurrencies at this point can only be achieved with the adoption of stablecoins.
Absolutely. And I think stablecoins have seen quite a degree of growth here in 2025, to say the least, especially in the US. But maybe that's a good question too. Like, what do you think we go from here with stablecoins? They seem to be something that's really integral for the Web3 ecosystem to continue growing and expanding and, adopting in a lot more users and connecting to a lot of legacy systems as well. It's a really good bridge, so to speak, and way to go back and forth. But also really critical, for these ecosystems to interact. Like, where do you think stablecoins go over the next few years, and maybe things to pay attention to as well?
Yeah. So from what we saw with banks and big players in the market, eventually a lot of them say we have Bitcoin because we have to, or Bitcoin, and to allow people to pay. But over 90% of what we do today is stablecoins. We just keep Bitcoin because we already have it. But it seems like a lot of clients today, a lot of consumers prefer to use stable coins to pay, and that makes sense, of course. If you're using USD, eventually you don't want to get any exposure to foreign exchange. And USDC, USDT, other stable coins gives you the perfect hedge against it. So we see that those that want to enter into the industry and to allow moving of funds, even payments, if you need to pay to someone in a different country, instead of waiting a few days and to pay tens of dollars, you do it in a seconds by sending stablecoin over the blockchain. This is a real use case of cryptocurrencies. And this is a great use case, actually, that allows companies and people to conduct business without the hassle of paying a lot of fees and wait until the settlement. You can do it in a few seconds today. That's amazing.
Yeah, it is incredible how fast it is and the finality of it and how cheap it is. Like, it still takes me at least one business day to send money, and it sometimes, depending on where I'm sending it, it might cost more than the amount I'm sending, which is a little weird, especially for like micro payments and micro transactions. Like, it's just we live in 2025, almost 2026. Like, we should have this problem solved already, right? So stablecoins are a good leg up on that. Does Nominis also serve wallets projects globally, or is it within a certain region at the moment?
We work globally. We have clients in America, in Europe, in the Middle East. We work globally because our coverage is pretty much globally. We have today, we've mapped over 13,000 crypto services around the world. That's in addition to tens of thousands of other entities that we have in the platform. So basically, we see all the funds flow, all the crypto flow around the world in all the major exchanges, in all the major blockchains. We support today over 70 different blockchain. Um, so yeah, we work globally. It's transparent for us.
Nice, nice. So what's your guys' plans for 2026 in terms of growing Nominis even further? Like, are there other tools, other methods, things that you guys are working on that maybe you can hint at, or things for other projects and startups maybe to keep in mind? Like, what can you share heading into the new year?
Yeah, so I think two major stuff that will release probably in the next 12 months. First is a tool that will allow monitoring not just stable coins, but every token. It will be a tool for token issuers. You'll be able to get full visibility to the who are the holder of the funds, what's the attribution, what's the risk score of each one of them. So basically, you get full visibility to who currently hold your funds. This is a demand that we see today from a lot of stablecoin issuers and also from banks that want to adopt stablecoins. And the second thing is everything about KYB. Like I've mentioned before, since we have so many data about a lot of different crypto services around the world, it makes sense to expand into the KYB and to provide full risk analysis, not just for crypto services, not just for crypto addresses, sorry, but also for the entire business. Since we know if it is a licensed one, we know what's the KYC policy, we know a lot of stuff about it. And this is also something that should be ready in the next 12 months as part of our roadmap.
Awesome. Are you guys going to be at any events or conferences for both maybe Web3, but also, security and stuff like that? I imagine, there's a lot of different things you guys could maybe attend.
So we're actually every month we're going to multiple conferences in different countries. My partner is currently in the US. I think that he had like 5 conferences over the last 2-3 months. Yeah. Soon we'll be in different conferences, from the Emirates to other places, to Poland, London, and basically all the big conferences.
Awesome. And then where can people go to keep up with everything you guys are doing and learn more? And at the same time, if someone wants to work with you guys, what's the best way to get in contact?
Yeah, that's super easy. We have the website, nominis.io. The website contains all the information about what we do. This is also one of the things that is very not common to do in our business is to be transparent. We have a transparent pricing in our website, so we can see exactly how much you'll need to pay for each package when you start, when you grow more. Everything is very transparent. We try to be very easy for startups to start working with us. We help today tens of different startups all around the world, from pre-seed to seed to round A. We work with everyone. We have a package for each one of them. That's it.
Awesome. Awesome. And if anyone wants to get in contact with you, or they want to connect, you have like an X or a LinkedIn?
Of course. So we have both X and LinkedIn for the company. And since we are dealing a lot with chief compliance, analysts, founders, CEOs, we use a lot of we utilize LinkedIn a lot. So you can see me, you can see the team, you can see everyone basically on LinkedIn, and you can reach out. Feel free.
Well, Snir, I appreciate it. This has been great learning more about what you guys are doing with Nominis. I think it's something that's really important. Illicit activity having a really sour impact on the Web3 industry for a very long time. And even though it's gotten better, it's also just gotten crazier and more convoluted and harder to deal with. So I think what you guys are doing is a difficult, tall task, but also quite impressive at the same time. So keep up all the great work, and do keep me updated on everything as well. Would love to do a part 2, maybe in 2026 when you have new updates. Just ping me, and would love to share with the audience more about what you're working on. But this has been great. Thank you.
Of course, thank you very much. Maybe as a finale, I can say a few words about something that might be relevant for all the clients. One of the things that we saw recently is that different actors, either illicit actors, terror activists, and bad people in general using legit stores and legit lookalike exchanges to move funds. What does it mean? It means that you'll see, for example, one of the cases that we saw is a store that sells phone, just cell phones. And when you pay with crypto, your funds are actually mixed up with funds that link to terror activities. It means that every consumer that uses crypto to pay for such stores will automatically be flagged and eventually could be, even arrested by the authorities. How can it be that you moved funds into a terror activist? And another example that we saw is about some instant exchanges that behind the hood, those are just, again, terror activists and illicit actors that have a website that looks nice, that allows anyone to do trades. But eventually, once you trade your funds and everything is okay, your funds are mixed up with funds that link to terror activities and other bad stuff. And eventually, your wallet got flagged. This is super important to understand. Again, when you interact with a store, with an exchange, always do due diligence. Who is the person that you're sending funds to? Eventually, we saw a lot of cases that people got their money frozen by the authorities, by stablecoin issuers, and they don't even know what they do. The only problem is that they used in the past platforms that were actually belong to illicit actors, and they're just innocent. So watch out for this.
Yeah, those are wise words. And it's scary to think that, they're creative enough to do this kind of stuff. And it's hard too. Like even someone that's been in the space for a very long time or that understands how the space works, can fall victim to these things too. I've been there. I know a lot of people that are very smart and have been around a long time that have also been there. It's really easy to get duped. Like they're very creative. Sometimes you just have no idea. But I think that added vigilance is really important in education, understanding the different ways that they can expose you or your funds, or at the same time, even your reputation and credibility. So no, I think that's a very wise words to mention and people for to back of their mind at all times. But yes, Snir, great episode, great conversation. Yeah, let's do it again sometime. This has been great. Appreciate the time, man.
Of course. Thank you very much.